welcome for the first time in 2021 to the Abarth 595 comp again, and I hope you guys have had a great New Year's. This video though is going to be focused on the comparison, as you can see in the thumbnail, between this, my car, my 595, against the 695 70th Anniversario that I had for a couple of weeks, courtesy of Abarth UK. Now, every petrol head has their own kind of criteria for looking for a car. I've kind of narrowed it down, like most of you probably have, to a few things. It's the aesthetic styling that's important, as well as the way a car sounds and the way a car behaves on the road. Now, I'm going to be looking at the two cars from that sort of perspective, see what the differences are, what the similarities are, and it'll be from my perspective of ownership, as well as from anyone else who wants to get into the Abarth brand and wants to see the differences between the current range. Obviously mine's used, the car that I had was new, 2020 model, but the comparisons are still there. So let's get into it, see what kind of splits the two, and we'll start with sound, because the Monzas are the same but different, courtesy of regulations and other things that can't be controlled. But let's get into it with a cold start up and then just take a look around both of the cars. So 595 versus 695, you can see the differences here. Having them next to each other is a great opportunity to compare the two models. This obviously now topping the range for Abarth, and this being the long existing Competizione that people know and love and seem to have loads of. This limited to 1,949 units worldwide. Now, first thing to notice obviously is the added aggression from this extended bodywork. The contrast of the paints as well really does accentuate that. Coming round to mine, you can see mine has none of that. It still looks good, mind you, but obviously when you're looking at this, it's not comparable. I do really love it, and you can modify these cars and mess around with them a lot, but there's only so much you can do with what's given to you from factory. So it's nice that this already has the bodywork to match the sort of aggressive demeanor that Abarths always go by. This has Scorpion logo on here, as well as the same sort of color as the bodywork extended onto the rear view mirrors, as well as the roof here, and of course the all-important rear wing. Now this is the main thing that I would love on my car, the adjustable wing providing extra downforce and just looking cool, to be honest. It's so much better with this on the rear of the car. The way it makes it stand out and the aggression that it adds to the overall design is not comparable to, well, if I come around to show you mine, this. Yeah. It lacks something. That is what it lacks. I spun the cars around to quickly take a look at the interiors of both as well, because obviously from the exterior there is quite a large difference, but in here there's not much to split the two. You've got the heritage badge, and that's about it in terms of differences. This one obviously has a different sort of seat setup, same sabots though as the one in mine, scratchy plastic, which of course in mine I changed as an option aftermarket. So you can always mess with these cars to make them more personal, but in this one obviously you've got the very in-your-face tan interior, but that's just my choice. The backing of these though is what differentiates this carbon seat, because the other one isn't carbon and it's not an option, which is, to me, is quite crazy that the top of the range car doesn't have that. And then stepping in, you can see the carbon that I've added. The screen's the same, steering wheel's the same, everything is the same. Mine has Beats Audio, which that doesn't offer. And yeah, there's not much splitting the two. It's more visual from the exterior, and I'm not sure if that's enough personally for me to warrant that extra price difference. Now, I know what I've been saying seems like I'm just coming across negative towards the 695 and slating it. I don't think it's a bad car at all in any way, but I'm just saying what I see when I compare it to my 595 on the interior perspective specifically. There isn't much to separate the two. Things do slightly disappoint me in the special edition just because it doesn't feel as special as it could. They haven't integrated much more than is already here. My car, obviously being an older model, doesn't have CarPlay integrated, but it is now an option in the comp models regardless, so you can have that there. It's standard in the 695, and other things are as well, like the seats. It's basically a pre-spec'd, pre-selected car for you, which some people would love. But in here, I've obviously made some tweaks to make it my own. The carbon from Koshi Group on the wing mirrors, the dashboard. When I'm looking forwards, it just makes it a nicer place. And yeah, you can add them from Abarth or aftermarket retailers, but you'll have to do it on the special edition as well. So the two aren't too different in that regard either. And again, these have carbon back belt seats. The 695, surprisingly to me, it comes with tricolore stripes and new design, but it doesn't have the carbon. And I was expecting it to have everything fully fitted for the price that it comes with. So again, a little disappointed in that, but covering it off aesthetically, exterior wise, it has it hands down over my car. I love the adjustable rear wing, flared arches, everything on it from the outside. I would love to have on this car for sure. And interior wise, there's not much in it for me. Sound wise, I'm covering off all the 3 points that I mentioned in the beginning of the video. The Monzas are great either way. You're not going to be disappointed. I mean, this car being a 2017 model doesn't have certain restrictions that are now in place for the cars like the 695 going forwards. So the Monzas are different. That one's got a valved system. I'm guessing it's also to do with efficiency, and it quietens down in the middle part of the rev range, but when you push it, it does bark. It makes as good of a noise, if not better, in certain rev ranges than this one. The other 595 comps now have that same Monza, so it would just be a choice you have to make. Obviously there are other models in the range, but we'll get onto that in a second. Now, from the driving side, the limited slip diff comes as standard in the 695 model. In this, there isn't one, but you get the rest all the same. The Koenig suspension, you get the Brembo brakes, the same engine, same power output. There isn't much to report elsewhere with that. So then it gets me thinking, from my side anyway, you know, there's pros and cons, and obviously you then have to take prices into it, which is why I want to come into just the general chat about Abarth. If you aren't in the Abarth brand already, there are good options to take a look at, and you've got ranges from the 595 Comp, the SASA, the 695 now. I think there's the Rivale. I'm not sure if that's still in production, but there's all of these, and they have different benefits in terms of comfort, quality, not speed, but you know, you've just got to make a choice. And then prices are a huge deciding factor in that. For me, this was a used car, so I didn't have to deal with depreciation or speccing up a car, watching the list get more and more expensive, so it wasn't a problem. But when you look at these cars, I think the Competizione starts at about £8,000 less than the 695, and that car is just sub 30k. Obviously there isn't much you can do to it. I think it's just paint, and then you add to basket and get your new car. But either way, there are things you can add to the comp, and it won't stay at the 8k difference, because if you want it bog standard, sure, you can probably get one off a dealership forecourt that will be like that, having had a bit of a depreciation hit anyway, so you have that benefit. But if you want to spec something up and have a few personal touches, it'll come up higher than that. And then you get into the realm of the 595 SASA, which again has benefits to it. You've got a lot of the comforts and benefits from the 695 put into a 595 variant. It's just not got the bulky sort of exterior. And that car has Akrapovic exhaust, if I'm correct. That exhaust plus carbon literally everywhere, same sort of setup as this, but from the factory instead of this aftermarket dash. Then that starts to become another interesting prospect. Not for me, obviously, because it's too similar again, but for anyone entering the brand, that is a very cool model, especially with the white wheels. It looks great. Now, just to kind of round off my points on this, I think it's a difficult one, because either way, you're not going to be disappointed. Every Abarth has its pros and its cons. It's the same with every car. This car isn't the most practical in the world, but it's so much fun, and regardless of the model, you will still be getting the fun factor. It's just what you want it to look like when it's parked on your driveway, basically, because the rest of it, bearing a few options here and there, come with most of the sportier top of the range models in this specific brand, and I'm sure they'll add to it in the future, seeing as at the moment the only car to ever push over 180 brake horsepower was the Piposto, and there isn't one in this range yet. Who knows what's going to happen with that, but in the current range, what you'd go for really depends on the budget, because these cars, the good thing about them is they're very reasonable to run, and I want to do a video on that in the future, because this is a sporty little car with a lot of character that is good, especially in this current economic climate. Some people just want a cheaper car to run. It really is that. The tank is small, it's affordable. I don't get bad miles to the gallon, and I drive like an idiot, so there's hope for everyone. I mean, it is a great car regardless, and so 695, 595, to me, I don't think it makes a huge difference. From my personal opinion, I wouldn't be making the upgrade, and that's specifically from a cost-based perspective, as well as what you get for the money. I bought this car used, and then to jump from this to a new car, which is a lot more expensive, I just don't see the point. But for someone stepping into the brand for the first time, I said it in another video, that 695 is the top of the range for the moment. It is limited to 1,949 cars, so you won't be seeing them everywhere, and that'll make you feel great while you're driving it around, and you won't be disappointed either way, so it's just a choice. I'll be sticking with this for a while, and I've got more videos coming on this car just to update you on some plans for it, but I think I'm going to end the video there. So let me know in the comments, either if you have any questions or if you are interested in the cars, what your take on the brand is, what your take on the specific models are, and which one you'd go for. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you very soon for another video focusing on this and how it might not be looking the same by the end of this year.